Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Today we are going to study the topic Nabard, which refers to the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. यार हिंदी में इसको हम राष्ट्रीय कृषि एवं ग्रामीण विकास बैंक बोलते हैं. तो before presentation I would like to introduce myself. I am Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. I have done M.Sc Agriculture with a specialization in Agronomy from JB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar in 1996. So let's move to the presentation. Nabard is a bank which is mainly focusing for agriculture development and rural development. NABARD Nabard stands for National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, and this bank is an apex development financed institution in India and one of the institutions owned by government which only aims to provide developmental credit in rural areas. This bank Nabard has been interested with matters concerning policy, planning and operations in the field of credit for agriculture and other economic activities in rural areas in India. Nabard is active in developing financial inclusion policy, and Nabard has its head office in Mumbai. Now to study the establishment or foundation of Nabard. Nabard was established on the recommendations of B. Sivaraman Committee on 12th July 1982 to implement the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development Act 1981. After establishment, Nabard replaced the Agriculture Credit Department and Rural Planning and Credit Sale Departments of Reserve Bank of India and Agriculture Refinance and Development Corporation. Nabard is one of the premier agencies providing developmental credit in rural areas. Nabard is India's specialized bank for agriculture and rural development in India. This bank is dedicated to the service of the nation by the late Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi on 5th November 1982. This was set up with initial capital of 100 crores and its paid up capital stood at 14,080 crores as on 31st March 2020. Consequent to the revision in the composition of share capital between Government of India and Reserve Bank of India, Nabard today is fully owned by Government of India. So this bank is playing very important role for development of agriculture and rural development to improve the prosperity. The vision of the Nabard is becoming the development bank of the nation for fostering rural prosperity and mission to promote sustainable and equitable agriculture and rural development through participative financially and non-financial interventions, innovations, technology and institutional development for securing prosperity. International associates of Nabard include World Bank affiliated organizations and global developmental agencies working in the field of agriculture and rural development. These organizations help Nabard by advising and giving monetary aid for the upliftment of the people in the rural areas and optimizing the agricultural process. So this Nabard bank is dedicated to the service of nation by improving the agriculture and rural prosperity. Organizational structure of Nabard. Nabard, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, is an apex financial development institution in India. Nabard headquarters is located at Mumbai and it possesses 31 regional and 391 district offices having 6 training centers and a special cell at Srinagar in India. The main work of Nabard is concerned with the planning and operation in the field of credit giving to the agriculture sector and with economic activity goes in rural areas. Also, Nabard performs the work for developing financial inclusion policy. The head of the Nabard regional office is the Chief General Manager And the other executives in the head offices are executive directors, managing directors, and chairpersons. Now, the hierarchy of Nabard organizational structures. It is headed by chairman, after that followed by managing directors, then board of directors, supported by executive directors. After that, there are head office departments, regional offices, and training establishment, which are controlling to the sub office special cells and district development offices by improving the networks in throughout the country for agriculture and rural development. As on May 2020, Nabard was operating at 31 regional offices in the country. What are the objectives of Nabard? Nabard stands for National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, works mainly in the direction of providing a strong and efficient base for the rural credit delivery system and enables it to take care of the expanding and diverse credit need of the agriculture and rural development. Approximately 50% of the rural credit is paid out by the cooperative banks and regional banks of those areas. The initiatives are aimed focused at building an empowered and financially inclusive rural media through a specific goal-oriented departments which can support for the finance and credits, and it can be categorized broadly into three heads by which the objectives of Nabard can be brought under three major heads. First one is financially and credit function, second development or promotional or improvement function, and third is supervision function. First objective of Nabard is financially and credit function, which works by providing refinance support to building rural infrastructure, surrounding approach and rules for rustic money related establishment, giving credit offices to issuing association, observing the progression of ground level rustic credit, and arrangement of credit designs every year for all regions to recognize proof of credit potential. So, Nabard has to generate the finance to the rural areas for the development of infrastructure and agriculture areas. There are different interest rates which are charged by Nabard for the purpose of refinancing to banks and non-bank financial companies, and it will vary for various schemes. For 2019, there were different Nabard interest rates about which we will discuss here. Like for NBFC, non-bank financial companies, the interest rate is onwards 9.6%. For RRB, regional rural banks, state cooperative banks, and state cooperative agriculture and rural development banks, the interest rate will vary from 8.9%, and long-term refinance assistance it is 8.5% onwards, and for PUCBs, people urban cooperative banks, it will onwards 9.2%, and for short-term refinance assistance the interest rates will be charged 4.5% onwards. The rates are subjected to change according to regulating authorities. So, the Nabard is playing important role for the credit to the different non-banking or regional or state cooperatives or other urban cooperative banks. Under objective of credit and finance function, Nabard is having refinance policy for schematic lending for subsidiaries of Nabard. First one is refinance purpose. Nabard refinance to its subsidiaries to help them to extend credit support to agriculture and rural development activities. Refinance is extended through automatic refinance facility both under farm sector and non-farm sector activities. Second is nature of accommodation. It is through automatic refinance facility or pre-sanction basis. Third is quantum of refinance loan and margin and contribution of borrower. So it will depend upon the borrower status, its capacity, and accordingly the refinance loan will be approved. Fourth is eligibility criteria. There should be registration, credit reports, net profit, net non-performing assets, memorandum of association, and finance parameter, etc., on the basis of which the criteria will be decided for loan approval and release. After that, fifth, eligible purposes, like it is for agriculture or MSME or microfinance, and list of activities which are covered under the farm sector and other sectors, and the thrust areas where the Nabard is functioning, like land development, minor and micro irrigation projects, water saving and water conservation devices, fisheries, animal husbandry. After that, Raitu Mitra groups, agri clinics, agri business centers, rural housing, agro processing, wasteland development, dryland farming projects, contact farming, area development schemes, plantation and horticulture, agroforestry, seed production, tissue culture, plant production, agri marketing infrastructure, which includes cold storage, godowns, and market yard development, and agriculture implements, non-conventional energy sources, and financing in areas of watershed travel development programs, etc. So we can see here how the Nabard is focusing on agriculture and its thrust areas where the attention is needed. After that, the rate of interest, which will be vary according to the borrower, it's their capacity and schemes. After this, there will be terms and conditions for funding. Penal interest will be there if payment is delayed. After that, repayment period is there. Then security of loans, and then pre-audit monitoring and supervision of projects. So these are the policies which are followed by Nabard for the credit distribution and its monitoring. Second objective is development, promotional and improvement functions, which includes preparing district level credit plans to guiding and motivating the banking industry in achieving these targets, to help banks and regional rural banks to get ready advancement activities plans for themselves, help regional rural banks and the support banks to go into memorandum of understanding with state governments and agreeable banks to improve the undertakings of the regional rural banks, screen execution of the advancement activity plans of banks, give monetary help to the preparation organizations of agreeable banks, business banks and regional rural banks, and give budgetary help to agreeable banks for a structure improved administration, data framework, computerization of activities and advancement of human resource. Third objective of Nabard is supervisory functions, which includes mandating supervising cooperative banks and regional rural banks, designing new development schemes, attempts examination of regional rural banks and cooperative banks, attempts examination of state cooperative agriculture and rural development banks, and gives proposal to Reserve Bank of India on the issue of licenses to cooperative banks, and embraces portfolio investigations other than off-site reconnaissance of cooperative banks and regional rural banks. So these are the supervisory function of Nabard. Now to study the role of Nabard. Nabard is playing various roles about which we will study here, like first one, it is the most superior institution that has the power to handle all the matters concerning policy, planning and operation in giving credit for agriculture and other economic activities that takes place in rural areas. Second, Nabard is based on the pattern on refinancing agency for those institutions that provide production and investment credit for promoting the numerous developmental programs and initiatives for rural development. And some institutions are included like regional rural banks, commercial banks, other financial institutions which are approved by Reserve Bank of India, state cooperative agriculture and rural development banks, and state cooperative banks. Third, Nabard is improving by enlarging its capacity of the credit giving systems in India, which includes supervision, formulation of rehabilitation schemes, restructuring of credit institutions, and training of employees. Fourth role, Nabard correlates the rural credit financing planning of all sorts of institutions that indulge in developmental work at the field level while maintaining communication with the state government and central government and also with Reserve Bank of India and other national level institutions that are concerned with policy formulation and credit giving system. Nabard also circulates and prepares rural credit plans annually as required for all districts in the country. And sixth, Nabard helps to promote research and training program in rural banking and in the field of agriculture and rural development. And seventh role, in addition to this, Nabard also undertake some natural resource management program like tribal development and watershed development programs. Now to go through functions of Nabard. Nabard is having diverse function about which we will study here. Like first, it provides refinancing services to central cooperative banks, regional rural banks, and land development banks, commercial banks, and state cooperative banks. Second, it provides refinancing to agriculture, small scale industries, and other village and cottage industries by way of lending money to commercial banks and special assistance. Nabard promotes small scale, cottage industries and rural industries, including tiny and petty sectors by providing credit loans to commercial and cooperative banks. And fourth function, the bills and checks of cooperative banks and commercials are discounted to enable them to finance for agriculture inputs. Fifth, the bank also provides funds to the state governments for the operation of developmental and promotional activities in rural areas. In order to propagate rural development and help the weaker unstable sections, the bank refinance, especially regional rural banks which are being set up in backward areas in most of the states. Nabard also helps all regional banks and institutes under its governance with the preparation of their own credit plans and policies. Other function of Nabard, in a matter of long-term loans, the bank is sanctioned loan to institutions involved in long-term agricultural loan collaborate with the guarantee of state government. Eighth function, the bank also gives credit financing in the research and development of agricultural and rural industries. Ninth function, the bank formulates the policy of the central government and the RBI concerning agricultural credit. 10th function is Nabard provides finance for promoting non-farming activities and employment in non-farming sectors with the purpose of reducing the rate of rural unemployment. 11th function, it empowers the cooperative structures in the states by providing credit loans to the state cooperative banks and also to land development banks. 12th function is Nabard also promotes some irrigation projects by credit through state governments sponsored irrigation projects. Other functions of Nabard, it's also regulated the inspection work of cooperative banks and regional rural banks. Nabard Bank has opened branches at regional offices at all district headquarters, through which bank coordinates the district development programs along with the district employees. 15th, the bank additionally help in the yearly credit plan of the business banks and coordinate the exercises of business and co-usable banks at the area level. And 16th functions, during normal catastrophes, like unfavorable situation, natural disasters like dry spells, crop disappointment performance, floods. The bank help by renegotiating business and agreeable banks so the ranchers tide over their troublesome period. So the Nabard is also taking suitable steps to help the farmers or community in case of unfavorable situations. 16th function, to take measures towards institution building for improving absorptive capacity of the credit delivery system, including monitoring, formulation of rehabilitation schemes, restructuring of credit institutions, and training of personnel. And 18th function, to coordinate the rural financing activities of all institutions which are engaged in development works at the field level and liaison with the Government of India, the state governments, the Reserve Bank, and other national level institutions concerned with policy formulation. Now we will put some light on achievement of Nabard. It can be described as considerable increase in the rural finance and development of small scale and cottage industries. Nabard plays important role in White Revolution, which was in the form of increasing milk production, Blue Revolution in the form of increased fisheries production, improving storage facilities. Agriculture commodities in the country played scientific role in the export of agriculture commodities, which include vegetables and fruits. After that, it is having the banking services for the rural sectors and having the role in production credit, issuing Kisan credit cards, farmers club programming, tribal development funds, microfinance programs, village development programs, farm innovation and promotion funds through Nabard, rural infrastructure development fund, self-help group and bank linkage programs which was launched in 1992, tree-based tribal communities livelihood initiatives, farm innovations, watershed approach in soil and water conservation and tools for sustainable climate proofing, and increasing crop productivity initiatives through lead crop initiatives. So these are the various achievements and initiatives taken by the Nabard for the development of agriculture and rural sectors. Nabard is having various schemes which are needed for the development of rural agriculture sector, and it is supporting by the way providing by way of refinancing, help in building infrastructure in rural areas, preparing credit plans annually at the district level, and guiding the banking sector in completing their credit targets, regulates regional rural banks and cooperative banks for their best functioning, and initiates new projects for rural development work on the principles of the government's development schemes, and gives support to training handicraft artisans. As Nabard is having refinance schemes, it is of two types: short-term loans, long-term loans. Short-term loans or cash crop loans are provided by various financial institutions to farmers for the purpose of increasing crop production. By providing this loan, one can establish about food security in the country. For seasonal agriculture inputs, Nabard has provided short-term credit loans of amount 55,000 crores to several financial institutions in the financial year 2017 and 18. And as long-term loans are concerned, long-term loans are provided to credit-based financial institutions for various farming and non-farming related activities. The duration of the long-term loan is from 18 months to 5 years. Nabard has provided refinance facilities around 65,240 crores for financial institutions in the year 2017-18. Nabard is also having infrastructure development schemes through Nabard Infrastructure Development Assistance, which is a growing program initiated to provide credit for financially well-to-do state-owned institutions and corporations. Nabard is also having schemes for warehouse infrastructure. There is Warehouse Infrastructure Fund, which helps in scientific warehousing infrastructure for agriculture commodities and products. During year 2017-18, as on 31st March 2018, the amount dispensed was rupees 4,778 crores. Other schemes are in food processing. Nabard is having food processing fund, where the government of India has given a loan commitment of 541 crores for 11 big food park projects, 3 food processing units, and 1 coordinated food park project as on 31st March 2018. Nabard is having a scheme for direct lending to cooperative banks. Nabard has provided help to 58 credit cooperative banks and 4 state cooperative banks spread across 14 states, and also sanctioned the amount of 4,849 crores. After that, Nabard is playing role for credit facility to marketing federations. This federation aims to work in the direction of marketing of farming activities and agriculture produce. Also, it promotes and enables to boost marketing federations and cooperatives, and the amount disbursed till March 2018 was 25,436 crore rupees. Nabard is also having a scheme for credit to producer organizations. Nabard started Producer Organization Development Fund to support and credit finance to producer organizations and primary agriculture credit societies. These institutions are formed to operate at multi-service centers. There are other schemes also where Nabard is playing important role, like Dairy Entrepreneurship Development Schemes, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, National Livestock Mission, Interest Subvention Scheme, Capital Investment Subsidy Scheme for Commercial Production Unit for Natural and Organic Inputs, Agri Facility and Agri Business Centers Scheme, and Credit Linked Capital Subsidy Schemes. As Nabard business operations are concerned, it is having production credit, investment credit, and Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. Under production credit, Nabard provides aggregating short-term loans to regional rural banks and cooperative banks. Under investment credit for capital stimulation in the field of agriculture and allied sectors, non-farming sector services, and activities related to commercial banks, cooperative banks, and regional rural banks. And Rural Infrastructure Development Fund in relation to the rural infrastructure development covering objects like irrigation, rural roads and bridges, education, health, soil conservation, drinking water sanitation schemes, flood protection, forest management systems, etc. As we have gone through various roles and functions of Nabard and its importance to the agriculture and rural development, besides this pivotal importance role, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development also plays the role in different way, like it acts as a coordinator in the operations of rural credit institutions, extends assistance to the government, the Reserve Bank of India, and other organizations in matters relating to rural development, offers training and research facilities for banks, cooperatives, and organizations working in the field of rural development, and Nabard helps the state governments in reaching their targets of providing assistance to eligible institutions in agriculture and rural development. Nabard acts as regulator for cooperative banks and regional rural banks. So this presentation was all about National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development Bank, Nabard, and it is playing very important role exclusively for rural and agriculture development. Hope this will be very useful to all of you. Now my presentation ends here. Thank you very much. I have given here my YouTube channel details, Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Having request, please visit the channel, subscribe it, and provide your kind and valuable feedbacks. Thank you.